welcome back to Niner Tech Talks. My name is Braden. I'm here with Harsh, Taylor, and Kirk, and today we are talking about the digital divide in America. Now, this has been a big problem, especially in recent years. Kirk, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so the digital divide is basically where certain students aren't having access to technology and they're not able to learn as efficiently because they don't have access to this technology. This may mean they might not have access to a nice computer, they might not have access to high-speed internet, or this could mean they can't afford a tutor, they can't afford access to other learning materials, and that's kind of what separates them.
I see. Yeah, that sounds like it could be a problem. Taylor, can you tell us a little about why is it a problem? What's really going on?
It's becoming a bigger problem, especially now because, as we can see, we're integrating more technology within the school environment with flipped classrooms, especially during COVID-19. A lot of things went online, and it caused a little bit of a bigger divide because divide isn't only focused on the lack of technology, but it's also on the lack of digital literacy within some groups or minorities who may not have not only access to modern technologies, but also the knowledge or the support to be able to learn how to navigate the technology that they do have. So it's definitely created a bigger gap here lately because technology is growing, but everyone's not getting access to the growing technology at the same pace.
I see. Yeah, that definitely would pose a problem. Are schools doing anything to combat this?
It kind of depends on the schools. Like, I know colleges and universities, they're definitely a little bit more helpful regarding resources with loaner computers or tablets or whatever students may need because they have more funding. But if we look at schools in marginalized areas, sometimes they don't have as much funding to be able to help out their students or provide them with the materials or have these digital literacy programs. So it kind of depends on the area, which is why it's a little bit of a bigger problem because there's a lot of different things that you need to consider in order to consider tackling this problem as a whole.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely important we attack the problem as a whole. Harsh, do you think you could give us some ideas what maybe we could do to help mitigate this issue in the US right now?
An example I remember, and this is personal because this happened to me in high school. It was my freshman year that COVID-19 hit, and we all did school from home. And when we came back during my sophomore year, I remember our school had huge orders of Chromebooks sent out, and every student was entitled to asking for a Chromebook to take home as their personal Chromebook, no matter if they have a device or not. And that ensured that we have no excuses, basically. Like, if my laptop's not working, if I don't have a laptop, the school is providing one. And also, they were offering us hotspot devices that we can use if we don't have access to high-speed data, which I do remember using over winter break when I went to India, and I didn't have internet in a lot of places I went to. I went to more rural areas, so providing hotspots and school laptops can be a good way to help mitigate this problem.
Yeah, that's a great point, and you bring up having internet as well, and we talked a little bit about having computers, but internet is, I would argue, even more essential because if you have a computer but no internet, well, you're still missing out on those lessons, right? So that's definitely a really important thing to have. Kirk, can you tell us a little bit about what the impact of this is? What's happening when these students don't have access to internet and they don't have access to these computers?
Yeah, so already looking at what's happening in current times, we've seen the rise of AI, specifically as a technology. And AI is really good at schoolwork and teaching you how to learn, especially for AP classes, because all that stuff's published online and already been read through by ChatGPT and Gemini. So they can give you effective study guides and questions. And so students who are already bridged by this gap of the digital divide aren't able to use these new technologies because they don't have access to a computer or internet. And this continues to widen the gap. But the hope is that as long as we're able to combat somewhat the digital divide, maybe give people free computers, free internet, that they would then be able to use ChatGPT and other tools to help themselves learn so that they can be on the same level as people who have these different advantages growing up than they do.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, Taylor, I know you've looked a little bit into this issue. Have you seen any information about how that's affecting learning outcomes? Is this leading to not only a gap in accessibility, but to actual education and to how these students are performing when it comes time for exams and for life even?
Yes, so there's definitely a lack of confidence in students who don't have access to modern technology in comparison to students that do. And this is kind of like a domino effect. It eventually affects like their want to show up to class, their motivation, because they feel like they're already at a disadvantage that they can't really fix. So it makes them just not even want to try. And this also, obviously growing up, when they graduate, it creates a bigger performance gap like in the workforce or beyond, where after they're having to put their knowledge into play, whether that be at a job or at higher education, they're not succeeding as much as those people who had those different resources, because it all starts with the lack of confidence because of not having resources.
Yeah, wow. Well, this clearly isn't a very cut and dry issue. There's no easy one size fits all solution for this. But I know we did discuss a couple solutions, such as schools providing laptops and hotspots to provide their students with access, which I think is a great start. But it's clear after this conversation that this is an issue that affects not just one subsect of students, it's a lot of students around the nation, and it affects them for their whole lives. Even it's not just one school year. Well, thank you guys for talking with me. I think that this was a really great conversation. Do you guys have any notes to add before we let them go?
No.
Awesome. Well, that's been Niner Tech Talks. Thanks for joining us.